Libra, Sun, Moon, and Risings, welcome to your February astrology forecast. It is February 9th already. I do apologize for not getting this out sooner, but it is still worthwhile to listen to. Number one, because we're only a third of the way through the month, and two, it's often fun and more revealing to look at astrology in hindsight. So we will be starting this forecast at February 1st and going through the entire month. And February is a big month. If you haven't felt the energy already, it is, we still have a strong and rare stellium of the personal planets moving together like we did last month. And then we also have two very big other things going on this month. One is a eclipse season starts, and we have a solar eclipse, new moon solar eclipse in Aquarius, starting the Aquarius Leo eclipse cycle that will be on and off throughout the eclipse seasons for the next about 2 years, and then 2 to 3 years. And then we have the Saturn and Neptune conjunction, and this Saturn and Neptune conjunction are huge. It is a once in a lifetime plus a once in potentially forever type of conjunction. Saturn and Neptune do meet up every 35 years, so the fact that they're meeting up is not extremely rare, but them meeting up in Aries, the last time that happened was in the early 1700s, and then but it's, it's been at different degree points, later degree points in Aries. What makes this one so special is that it is at the 0 degree point, which is the birthing point of the entire zodiac cycle. It is the birthing point. And I don't believe that this has ever happened in history before. I've looked back through to 500 BC. Other astrologers say it hasn't happened for 5,000 to 6,000 years. I don't know if they have been able to confirm that it happened that, 6,000 years ago or not. But regardless, the 0 degree point is a world point, and it is the birthing seed of all birthing seeds in astrology. So we are birthing a new thousands of years cycle right now, and we chose to be here to be a part of this history making. I do recommend that you listen to the collective reading, which I'll link to right here, as I go over the Sabian symbols of the 4 planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and Chiron, that are not moving more than 1 degree. So when that happens, I feel like the Sabian symbols provide a nice kind of overview of the lessons that we are learning and moving and working through collectively. So if you want to hear about those are at the beginning point of my collective reading. And now, before we dive into it, just a little introduction to me. Hi, I'm Sarah at Life with Training Wheels, where I utilize Western tropical zodiac astrology, whole sign house system, along with tarot and other spiritual and health and wellness tools, such as singing bowls, whatever, I can't point to it. Singing bowls and tuning forks and things like that to help guide you on your path of your highest and best self, to help you learn about yourself, to help you become more understanding, attuned to who you are and how you can better take control of your life. I help you uncover and discover any self-sabotaging behaviors, self-limiting beliefs, any victim mentality that might be keeping you stuck in a particular paradigm or a particular lesson that you're trying to learn. Repeating patterns that are showing up that you just want to escape. I help identify those and help you reclaim the power over your own life and realize that you do have the power to choose your own adventure in this life and to choose a more fun adventure. So if that sounds like something that you want to stick around for, a vibe you can vibe with, then I do recommend giving me a like, a comment, a subscribe, anything that you can, so that I will continue to show up in your feed. And if this is your first time joining me, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you'll stick around and stay. If you're returning, thank you so much for returning. All the support you give me really does mean the world to me and help me out. Okay, now let's go ahead and get into the chart. I have it up here on the screen, so we're just going to start at February 1st. Where we had a full moon in Leo, and full moons are when the sun opposes the sun opposes the moon, and so with this full moon, not only was the moon opposing the sun, but it was opposing all the personal planets and Pluto, because all these planets right here were still in a conjunction. They were all within 10 degrees of that sun. So this was a major full moon. We have all this energy here concentrated in your 5th house of joy, romance, creativity, children, your inner child, your childlike essence, things like that. All this energy is focused here. You're really working on this area of your life. You're focused on it. But what this full moon wanted you to consider is to not forget about 11th house things. So you're so focused on your children, your romantic partner, your own joy, your own play, your own stuff like that. But it wanted you to consider how you're bringing that energy out into the real world, not the real world. How you're bringing that energy out into the collective, and making sure that you're not forgetting about the collective, and making sure that you're not forgetting to bring the real you out into the world, because that joy, that spark, that creativity, that fun and that love and everything is what we need to be bringing out into the world, because that's where we truly shine. That's where, when we fill our cups and then bring our full cup out into the world, out into the 11th house of our friendships and the groups we belong to and all that stuff, that's where we really shine. And this full moon was also, which I don't think you are having a problem with necessarily, because all your energy is focused here in the 5th house, but Leo shares a lot of the similar traits to the 5th house, the Leo energy. So it is all about that joy and that childlike essence. It is all about leadership and courage and things like that. So maybe this is reminding you to have the courage to be who you truly are out in the world, and perhaps, shining a light on the 5th house, having the courage to engage in the passions that maybe you forgot that you had, and reigniting those and not being afraid to do it. So that is kind of what the full moon was about. I will link to the collective video right here. Okay, then February 3rd, we had Uranus stationing direct in Taurus. And Uranus stationing direct is a big energetic shift. It's been retrograde for a while, giving us the opportunity to rethink and realign the Taurus areas of our life collectively. That's our financial systems, our resources, our values, things that we find beautiful and things like that. In your own life, this is focused on the 8th house themes of shared resources, intimacy, transformation, things like that. So this energetic shift moving from retrograde to direct, you likely would have felt or have since then felt like progress can be made. Like if you feel like in your shared resources or intimacy, like things have been kind of held back, or you've really been internalizing it, with this energetic shift of Uranus going direct, all of a sudden there may have been progress. All of a sudden there may have been sudden insights coming in about it being the time to start acting and how to go about doing that and things like that, or opportunities may have come in. It's something like that. And Uranus does rule this fifth house of Aquarius with all this energy here. So you could have felt a shift in direction there too. Like if you've been feeling, even though you have all this energy here, maybe it's been feeling a little reserved, a little held back. But with this stationing direct, maybe you felt some forward momentum and like you could finally start gaining traction in those areas of your life as well. And Uranus is the planet of sudden insight. It is the planet of electricity. Out in the world, it is also our electrical system. So you may have felt some like heightened anxiety or something like that, maybe a little dizzy, a little frazzled, things like that. And then what we'll get into here in a minute is just that this planet, it's the planet of shock and awe and shaking things up too. It's where we're feeling revolutionary and rebellious and want to do things differently, where we want to tear old structures down and build new ones. And so these personal planets will be squaring that all month long, taking turns. So we'll get into that in just a second. First, I want to talk about all these personal planets. As a reminder, we talked last month about how rare it is that they are in a stellium like this because they all move at different speeds. Mercury, Venus, and the Sun all take about 3 to 5 weeks to move through each sign, while Mars takes about 2 months. So the fact that they have all been moving together kind of as one unit since the beginning of the year is pretty rare astrology. To have such a powerhouse, to have such a stellium of all the personal planets, which basically represents our existence, right? The outer planets move more slowly. They're more what's going on in the collective that's affecting us, or longer lessons. But the personal planets are our day-to-day lives. So our day-to-day lives and how we engage with the world is being completely restructured and reorganized, right? We started out the year with them all in Capricorn, which is our structures, out in the world. It's our structures. Internally, it's also where we have foundation and where we work hard for things and things like that. And it was in your fourth house. And all these planets met up with the sun last month, and anytime there's a conjunction with the sun and a planet, it is infusing that planet with new vitality, with new goals, new ways of being. So we had that conjunction, and the planets, several of the planets like Mars and Venus met up. We had a lot of birthing of new cycles going on last month with these conjunctions in the fourth house of laying the foundation for something new, which is beautiful, and Capricorn, which is foundation building. And then after those seeds were planted, they immediately went into Aquarius and had a conjunction with Pluto, which is the planet of transformation and seeing into the dark and seeing where the weeds are that we need to pull and let go of so that these new seeds that we just planted have some fertile ground to grow in. And this energy is moving from fourth house to fifth house of creativity. And then as they're here, they're going to be making some conversations. So not only is the energy still focused here, these planets are still too close to the sun. We can't quite see them in the sky. And then metaphorically, we can't yet see anything that was being planted here start to take shape, right? It's still under the surface and percolating, you could say. So as these planets move through Aquarius, they're going to be making several conversations. The first of which is this sextile to Chiron in Aries. And Chiron, remember, is the wounded healer, and Aries is the energy of the I am. So this is where we have wounds in regards to our I am, where we've kept ourselves small for the sake of others, where we haven't felt like we could be fully seen for who we are, those types of wounds. And all month long, we'll be getting sextiles from all our personal planets, kind of guiding us how to, and giving us the opportunity to work on and continue the healing of how we can feel confident and comfortable showing up as the whole us, as our full unique selves, and not being afraid to have our voice be heard. It's time for all of our voices to be heard. Not being afraid to take up space, and not being afraid to be who we truly are. So Mercury is going to be making this sextile, Venus is going to be making this sextile, the Sun, Mars, they're all going to be making this conversation, imbuing a little bit more of how we engage in our day-to-day activity and feel confident in doing that. We'll be getting that opportunity for that healing this month. And then the planets, as they move, will be making a square here to Uranus. And as I said before, Uranus rules over these planets while they are in Aquarius. And the Aquarius energy is doing things differently. It's the rebellious nature. It's the thinking outside the box. It's innovation. It's invention. It's technology. Things like that. So with this being an interaction between your 5th house and your 8th house, this can be, and 5th house is our kids and our creativity and our joy and our passion and our inner child, and 8th house is transformation and intimacy and shared resources. So these conversations and this Uranus, Uranus is that planet of unpredictability, and a square is a tension point. So this could bring about some additional changes in that you need to have happen in your 8th house before Uranus moves to Gemini later this year, where it will stay. It won't be waffling back into Taurus at all once it makes that movement. And you've had Uranus here in your 8th house for, since about 2018, kind of shaking things up. So things may have felt a little unstable. Things have been shifting in your house of shared resources and intimacy and transformation and things like that. And so this is kind of like a final shakeup of some things in how we interact with our day-to-day life and our joy and our creativity. So with this being, 8th house is psychological house, and 5th house could be inner child. Maybe there's some additional opportunities for inner child work. And like I said, squares are tension points, so it might be uncomfortable, but they often just mean that we need to make a choice to act on something. So maybe it's as simple as we're being presented with an opportunity and we have to say yes or no, right? So this could be, finding a psychologist or something like that, or it could be, our kids engaging somehow with our finances or shared resources, or deepening our relationship and our open and vulnerability with our children, or our romantic partner. This is also romantic partner, or maybe just really internal work as well about rediscovering our joys and our passions that maybe we had as children and we got told it was silly or something like that, and now we're rediscovering it and figuring out how to work it back into our lives, things like that. And then these planets, all of them except for Mars this month, so these first 3 are going to be then moving into Pisces, in your 6th house of daily habits, health, and work. And as they move in and progress, they are going to be taking turns making a conjunction to the North Node. So this is, fated things. So that with each of these planets, whether it is Mercury, which is communication and ideas and thought processes and learning, maybe there's something fated coming, some fated conversation or opportunity for learning that's coming in. Venus is finances, value system, and relationships, so maybe there's something coming in there. Sun is, you and your vitality and your ego and what you want to do in this life, your beingness. So there could be opportunities lining up with the North Node of bringing fated things into your life. So there could be fated things showing up for you, but it also, the North Node overall in Pisces is asking for us to trust in the Pisces energy of spirituality and aligning us with our highest truth, and yeah, kind of learning to let go and let God type energy. So you're really, we've built the foundation here, planting the seeds. We've had a process of transformation with Pluto, and now we're making sure that these changes that we're making, this direction that we seem to be going in our day-to-day life, really does fit with our day-to-day life and our health habits, our work habits, our daily habits and routines. Like, are we aligned with where we're going? Is it sustainable, what we're seeming to try to build? And can we, learn to let go of having to have all the details of how these things are going to work out, and just trust in like our intuition? Like, instead of maybe some of this North Node in the 6th house is, instead of trying to have things planned out, leaning into our intuition and feeling into the energy of the day, and approaching our day that way, approaching that whatever we're feeling is what we need to engage in that day. So that could be some of how this conversation is going to align. And then as these planets continue making their way through Pisces, they are going to make a beautiful trine here to Jupiter retrograde in Cancer. And Jupiter is one of the rulers of Pisces, so it rules the 6th house. So this is very beautiful energy, very supportive. Jupiter, even retrograde, likes to bring opportunities, abundance, luck, things like that. And this is with your 10th house of career and public reputation, making a trine to these planets of your daily activities in your 6th house of daily habits, routines, health, and work. So there could be some work opportunities coming to you later this month, or Jupiter retrograde could be opportunities that you missed coming back around, giving you another chance to engage in them. So that will be something to watch out for as the month progresses, as there might be some new opportunities in the field of work coming to you. So that is what the personal planets are up to this month. Now let's keep moving on. Okay, so then that brings us to February 13th, where we have Saturn entering into Aries. So this is kind of where we get into the very big astrology of the month. Like, everything we've talked about is already very big, very important, but this is the once in thousands of years, perhaps once in history, that we're talking about with this right here. So first of all, to bring it back down to earth, I guess, so Saturn entering Aries is, you likely notice an energetic shift in that, because usually Saturn's in a sign for about 2.5 years, and it has been in your 6th house of daily health, habits, routines, work. Saturn oftentimes with it brings what can feel like challenge, or like trials and tribulations or lessons, right? Like, Saturn is kind of like this father figure that's teaching us lessons, teaching us responsibility in a certain area of our lives. So with Saturn in your 6th house, the last couple of years, you've probably felt a little more responsibility in your health or your work or your daily routines, or like things haven't been moving forward the way you've wanted them to. Had some lessons going on there. And with Saturn leaving your house, especially if you've had health issues or things like that, there should be an ease up of that with Saturn moving into the 7th house. So I'll be doing more videos about Saturn and what it by itself might bring or mean to a sign. But for purposes of this month in particular, and just what is going on in the current atmosphere, Right, Neptune already moved from Pisces into Aries, and Neptune in the highest vibration, because it's blah, blah, blah. As soon as Saturn enters Aries, it is making a conjunction to Neptune. It's not an exact conjunction. The exact conjunction will be February 20th, so it is coming in a few days. But this is big, and I'll be doing, like I said, more videos on Saturn individually, as well as I already have a couple videos out about Neptune and Aries, like the history of what that's brought and things like that. But for the purposes of this month, I want to just focus on what these two are bringing together and what this energy is this month. So in their highest vibrations, Neptune is, it's the dreamer, connected to our spirituality and bringing kind of like that Christ-like conscious of compassion and unity and love for all and things like that, into our awareness. And with the I am, it's kind of learning to embody that spirituality, like learning to, and this is part of the awakening, I think, that maybe we are all going to be going through, is that we don't need to go through any religious organizations or anything like that to have a direct connection with our higher selves or spirit or God or the universe, whatever you want to term it. We can embody it ourselves. And that's a lot of what this Saturn and Neptune conjunction is doing. Is Neptune is, like, as far as spirituality, it's learning to embrace it and embody it and pull it into our own reality and how to structure that within ourselves, right? But then on a level outside of that, Neptune is the dreamer and the imagination and seeing the highest and best good of everything and like dreaming up how good can it get, right? When you do a vision board and go big, right? It's your wildest, best imagination for what the best possible things could be. And then Saturn in its highest form is like building a solid foundation and structure that doesn't cage you in, but that fully supports you. And so the merging of these two is where we can really, as all the systems around us are crumbling, we are being given the opportunity right now, collectively and individually, to dream into reality. Saturn there is bringing the reality, bringing the vision of the other realms and the imagination into physical form. We get to imagine what this world is going to look like, and we get to be part of creating it, because this conjunction is happening right here, right now, with us leading the way. It's that important. And you may not feel this energy super strongly, right? You may not feel it, might just be this undertone, and you're leading the way in these minute decisions that you make on a day-to-day basis. So it might not be like a singular event or something like that, but there's a shift. There's a shift within the collective that we all feel, and there's a shift within each of us individually as we learn to cope with, I guess, the structures that are falling and the deception, right? Neptune is deception. That being unveiled, like everything is being unveiled right now. And so we're getting the opportunity to see that, to the illusion is lifting and we're seeing the truth, which is what Neptune is also about. And it can either create the illusion or the illusion can be lifted. So we are seeing that and creating that. Now, on the flip side, just to be aware, Neptune can also be that disillusionment. It can be that wanting to escape and not deal with reality. And Saturn is bringing the reality. Saturn brings the heaviness. So these two energies combined can potentially lead to some depression and feelings of overwhelm and things like that. So just keep that in mind, that astrology is bringing all possible energetic combinations to our awareness, and then it's up to us individually how we want to engage with that. Do we want to escape? Do we want to fall into depression? Or do we want to take this opportunity by the horns and really dream into life the best thing possible? So the other way that I'm reading this energy is that wherever this Saturn and Neptune conjunction is falling in the individual charts is where I think the universe is calling you to step up and be a leader, or where you're going to really ground in this new energy that we're developing as a collective. This is where your role will be potentially. And that doesn't mean to say that your work is going to be changing or anything like that. This is just where you might be making these subtle energetic shifts, and whether you realize it or not, may be a leader in this. And so for you, this is in your 7th house of relationships, one-to-one, like your marriage, your significant other partnerships, your best friendships, as well as business partnerships. So this could be, there's been a lot of, in society and in culture, a lot of imbalance between the masculine and feminine. The pendulum has swung both ways, and we have a lot of toxicity in both masculinity and femininity. And I think we need a recalibration of that, which I think was part of, Mars and Venus had a conjunction last month, and I think that's been planting the seeds of a recalibration. And maybe, in relationships, maybe there is some of that going on that you could be a leader of. And it's not only within relationships, but within our own selves, the balance of the masculine and feminine as well. This could also be, and with Aries here, right? Aries is the I am. And a lot of times, we all have this I am wound of keeping ourselves small for the sake of others. So maybe this is really you as well, leading the way and figuring out to bring your whole self to a relationship, and to become part of that partnership, but to not lose yourself in it. Because I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with. And so, learning how to navigate that and not get lost in it. And at the same time, allowing the other person to be their whole selves as well. And so maybe that's something that you can lead. Or this could be more of a business partnership, like how to have more fair and just business partnership dealings, how to, figure out who you're going into business with, those types of things. And even, best friendships or any close relationship, like just being a leader and how to navigate that and balance the other versus self and things like that. Okay, so then right in between February 13th of when Saturn enters Aries and February 20th when Saturn and Neptune make their exact conjunction, on February 17th we have a new moon solar eclipse in Aquarius at basically the 29th degree. It's 28 degrees and 50 some minutes. So we can easily round up and just call this 29 degrees, which is an anaretic degree, right? The 0 degree point and the 29 degree point of any sign is important. Like we've discussed with the Saturn Neptune, the 0 degree point of Aries is the biggest one, and the 29th, which we've been flirting with, of Pisces, because this is the end of the zodiac and this is the beginning of the zodiac. So that's again why I'm saying we're building an entire new 1,000-year cycle. But in regards to this new moon solar eclipse, so this is at the 29th degree, so it's at a degree of maturation, right? So these personal planets and everything have been going through, you've been really focusing a lot of attention on the 5th house matters of joy, creativity, romance, children, things like that. And you've come to a level of maturation in understanding where your joy lives and things of that nature. And so now new things are going to be coming in here now that you've developed this maturation. You've kind of like, the way I'm reading this energy is you've kind of like earned, like if this were a video game, which, you know, a lot of people talk about this being a simulation, you've earned your way to the next level. So now that you've made it this way through, now there's a new beginning that is fated, right? Because it's with the North Node, because eclipses are when the full moon or new moon is aligned within a 16-degree conjunction of the North or South Node. And this happens to be with the North Node, which, like new moons, brings new things that haven't been in your purview, that you didn't see coming, brings those into your awareness. And so now that you've reached this level of maturation, you're ready to move on to the next level. So this is a next level new beginning, kind of, is how I'm feeling this energy. So that's really exciting. And with it being with the North Node, it is kind of faded. Now, how strongly you feel this, how strongly something shows up for you, how life-changing it may be, depends on how your chart is hitting this. If you have any planets or points in these later degrees of Aquarius or early Pisces, you will be feeling this very strongly. Or if you have planets or points in the later degrees of the other fixed signs, so Taurus, Leo, and Scorpio, then you will likely be feeling this eclipse pretty strongly. Otherwise, it might just be in the background. Something new will be coming up for you, but it might not be so big, right? So what's beautiful about this is, along with it being in between the 13th and 20th of Saturn moving into Aries and making this conjunction, Saturn is also the ruler of Aquarius. So with all the indications, and Uranus is also the ruler of Aquarius, so which just stationed direct this month, which, you know, has been having all these conversations with these planets, bringing some extra change. So whatever is showing up has got legs to stand on. It's going to be here for the long haul. It's something that is meant to be here and meant to help build a foundation for where you're going in the future. So, you know, whatever's showing up for you, really take time to think about it and consider it, and you know, think long term. Neptune is seeing the future, dreaming the future into reality and things like that. Like instead of, a good question is, how good can this get, right? Because let's make it as good as it can get. So that is February 17th. Then we only have a couple more things. February 25th, we have Mercury is going to be stationing retrograde in your 6th house. So this will bring clearly regular Mercury retrograde things, potential miscommunication, potential travel plans that don't go as planned, or other plans that don't go as planned, things like that. And then especially in regards to your 6th house of daily habits, routines, work, like you can expect miscommunication in these areas of your life, or, you know, but this is a good time to rework things, right? Mercury retrograde is always a good time to take projects that we've started before that we need to reevaluate, rework in order to get them perfect. This is the great time for that. Then last but not least, we have on February 27th, Mercury making a conjunction with Venus. And they have done this before last month, but they are doing it again, this time with Mercury retrograde. So it's giving us yet again another opportunity to think about, you know, if there's anything we need to change up or rework or redo in regards to our values, our finances, and our relationships. That is it for your February astrology forecast. Comment below with how you're feeling this energy already, since we're part of the way in, what you're excited about, what you're nervous about. I'd love to hear any thoughts that you have. And yeah, if you could engage with this anyway as well, it'll help my tiny little channel grow, as These take a lot of time to do. They take about 2 to 3 hours to get out each one. And this is not my full-time job. This is just a passion project that I'm hoping to turn into a full-time job. So any way you can support me by engaging with this content would be fabulous and much appreciated. Other than that, I hope you have a wonderful February, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.